how do you record those correspondent transactions if you get around those type of statement? And for that reason, I want us to quickly go to the next chapter there, which is your chapter 10. That's where we deal with the correspondent transactions and accounts. So let's go to chapter 10. Let's look at those correspondent transactions and accounts. Okay. And it says, when we start talking about correspondent, I believe that some of you, because you are already in practice, you know exactly what we are talking about when we talk about correspondent work. And the correspondent work that I'm talking about, I'm not just talking about the work of exchanging correspondent or exchanging documents. Here, I'm talking about the correspondent where one attorney instructs the other attorney for an assistance in a matter where he was instructed by his or her own client. Now, for example, if you are a legal practitioner, you'll see there in the manual, we have given an example with an attorney, one practicing in Pretoria and the other one practicing in Durban. So what we are saying there is that as a legal practitioner, when you are practicing here in Pretoria, and then you've got a client that consult you here in Pretoria, and during consultations, you realize that the person that you need to follow, the person that you need to sue, is residing somewhere in Durban. And as a legal practitioner, you will know immediately that if I am practicing in Pretoria and I have to deal with somebody in Durban, I will not be able to do that from Pretoria. I will not be able to issue summonses from Pretoria. And for that reason, I need a legal practitioner who is practicing within the jurisdiction of the Durban courts. That is where you will be able to sue this person. And for that reason, it will force you to say, let me look for one of my colleagues who practices in Durban so that I can appoint him as a correspondent. In other words, you are appointing that attorney to assist you in a matter where you have been instructed by your client. Now, what happened is that as soon as you contact the attorney in Durban and ask that attorney in Durban to assist you in a matter where you are instructed by your client, you, the attorney in Pretoria, becomes the client of the attorney in Durban. In other words, when the attorney in Durban raises his or her fees, he or she is not going to raise the fees against your client here in Pretoria, but he will raise his fees against you, the instructing attorney, because that attorney in Durban has got nothing to do with your clients that consulted with you here in Pretoria. He's got nothing to do with this client that you have seen, and the client has given you a mandate. The fact of the matter is that you are the attorney and you are giving your colleague in Durban instruction to attend to your matter. That is why, for that reason, every time the attorney in Durban raises the fee, that attorney in Durban will raise the fee against the correspondent attorney, which is yourself. In other words, you, the instructing attorney, you are responsible for paying the correspondence fees. And it's unethical for a legal practitioner to tell a correspondent legal practitioner to say, I do not have money, I don't have funds, may you please wait for me to collect money from my clients and I will pay you. That is not allowed. As soon as you instruct me to act as your correspondent, as and when I send you the bill, I expect you to pay immediately. If you don't have enough money, if you have not collected enough money from your client, then you will have to pay me from your own business account. And then later on, you will go and get that money from your client, and then you will see how to get your money back from that client. But as soon as you've got a correspondent, the correspondent is not going to wait for you to raise a fee. The correspondent is going to charge you the fees as and when he or she does the job on your instructions. That is what we call a correspondent work. And on this fee that you charge, the instructing attorney, we always say that you need to give the instructing attorney a third allowance of the fees that you have raised. Now, why the third allowance on the fee? The third allowance is basically a token of appreciation by one attorney when the one instructs the other. In other words, if the attorney in Pretoria instructs the attorney in Durban to work on his or her matter, then the attorney in Durban will give the attorney in Pretoria what we call a third allowance on the fee. So a third allowance on the fee is just what we call a token of appreciation by one attorney when instructed by the other. In other words, you are simply saying to me, thank you for giving me the job, but because you are the one who has done the job, that is why we say you will always take the second, you will give your correspondent a third of your fee, and the 2/3 of your fee will belongs to you, the instructed attorney. So you need to remember that when you instructed one attorney to act on your behalf, that attorney will act, and every time they will charge you the fees for the job that they have done. And as and when they charge you the fee for the job that they have done, then they are entitled, or you are entitled to what we call a third allowance on the fees. In other words, whatever fee you charge them, you are entitled to a third of that fee that you are charging your correspondent. I need to give an example here. Let's say you are the attorney here in Pretoria. You are instructed by attorney in Durban, and then you raise the fee of 600 rand. Now, if you raise the fee of 600 rand, and then you need to give what you call a third allowance, which simply means out of that 600 rand, the third of that 600 rand, you will give it to the instructing attorney. In other words, if you raise a fee of 600 rand, while you are working on this matter, you raise the fee of 600 rand. I'm just giving an example. And then you say, what is the third of 600 rand? So the third of 600 rand is 200 rand. That simply means then you need to take the 200 rand, give it back to the instructing attorney, and then you are left with the 400 rand. So that is how the 1/3 works on your fees. So we are simply saying it's a token of appreciation when one attorney instructs the other. And then you are simply saying, I appreciate you giving me the job. That is why I give you something so that you can give me more job in the future. So that is how the third went. You just give me the third of the fee that you have raised. 600 rand, the third of 600 rand is 200 rand. So the third of 900 rand is 300 rand. Simply take the number and divide it by 3, and it gives you the third that you are looking for. So you are able to work on those thirds. So that is how the fee works in the correspondent matter. And then you will see also that issue of the fee we have dealt with on the next page 95. Bulletin number 3 or paragraph number 3, that is where we discuss the issue of fees as well as that third allowance on the fee. So that is how you record your fee. You see there we also indicated the issue of VAT, and we are saying VAT is only or must only be charged by people who are registered VAT vendor. Please remember that. I've seen it happening, and I've seen many of your colleagues going down because of this type of unethical work or duties that they are displaying in the profession. What we are saying is, if you are not registered for VAT, you are not going to charge VAT. It doesn't matter how little your fees might be, but never increases your fee by charging a VAT. It will get you into serious trouble, and you will be found guilty of a criminal offense. And as soon as you've got a criminal offense, you will have a serious problem with your practice. So that is how I always say that you need to be very careful. When you debit your VAT, you need to be sure that you are basically registered for that VAT, and you will account with that VAT to the relevant authorities. So just be careful when you deal with the issue of VAT. If you don't have money, do not increase it by calculating VAT. It's going to get you into serious trouble. Now, while we are still there on the issue of VAT, can someone tell me at what stage is a legal practitioner or any business person for that person obliged to register for VAT? There's a certain threshold that if you get to that threshold, you must register for VAT. And what is the threshold?
It's 1 million rand a year.
Correct. As soon as you reach 1 million rand a year, you must go and register for VAT. It's not an option. You must register for VAT. And if you are a cent less than a million, or if you are between 50,000 rands and a cent less than a million turnover per year, then you've got an option. You can decide whether you want to register or you don't want to register. That is your absolute discretion to decide whether to register or not. Now, if you are less than 50,000 rand, you are not entitled to register for VAT. So you can't register for VAT if you are making a turnover of less than 50,000 rand. So you should not be, or you will not be allowed to register for your VAT. So that is as far as registration of VAT is concerned. You must be over a million to be obliged to register, and you must be between 50,000 and less than 1 cent, less than a million, to be in a position to exercise your discretion whether you register for VAT or not. Okay. I always tell students to say you need to be very careful. When you reach the tax threshold, make sure you register for that VAT. In any way, you are not you are not the one who is paying that VAT. That VAT is paid by your client. The only thing that you do is transfer the value of the VAT to the Legal Practice Fidelity Fund or the LPC. That is where you need to transfer that. So you need to be very careful when you deal with this type of transaction. That we're busy with that VAT, where we said you need to be able to know and understand the threshold for registration of VAT. Now, this is what happens. If you make a turnover of more than a million and you don't register for VAT, later SARS find out that you have reached your VAT tax threshold, but you are not being paid. You have not been paying VAT, or you have not been charging VAT. You are just making money to yourself, and the money belongs to you and only you. This is what they will normally do. They will come and say, this month you made a turnover of 1.5 million. and they say, what is the 14% out of that 1.5 million? And then they calculate their 14%, so the 15%, and they say to you, come and pay us this amount. You owe us this money, because it was your duty, it was your responsibility to make sure that you pay for rent, and this money will have came into our account should you have paid more attention. So you need to be very careful when it comes to those issues, in particular the registration of your VAT. So you need to be very, very careful there. Do not waste time. If I said in any way, the money will not be paid by you. The money will be paid by the legal, the money, that's the VAT, the money will be paid by your clients, and then your only duty that you have is to transfer that to the legal practice fidelity fund. That's all you do in as far as your VAT is concerned. And please, you also need to go and read through your manual there. Understand the difference between your input and your output VAT. We all know that output VAT is a VAT. It's a VAT that you are charged by other registered service providers. If you are a registered service provider like yourself, and then the other colleagues need to assist you, and that is when, let me just get something here. Okay. Now I want us to look, you'll see an example there but that example will do it together. So that is what we call, when you deal with your collection, that is your fee, that's not the problem. And we were still busy talking about your third allowance. Now, I want us to quickly look at your collection commission. You see there's a portion in your guide there that talks about the collection commission, that is at bulletin number 3, the same chapter 10. Now, this is how the collection commission works. The collection commission only works on the amount that you have collected. Let's say, for instance, you are instructed to collect an amount of, let's say, 100,000 Rand from a client. And the clients come, you write a letter of demand to the debtor, your client's debtor. And then after acknowledging receipt of that letter of demand, and then the debtor make an arrangement with you as a legal practitioner or as an attorney representing the debtor to say, I will pay you, but I'll pay you in installments. Now, out of that 100,000 Rand, he says to you, I will give you installment, say, 5,000 Rand per month. I'll give you 5,000 Rand per month, but as and if I get enough money, I'll pay more than the 5,000 Rand per month. Now, you've got this person that pays 5,000 Rand at the end of the first month. And we are saying, in terms of the collection commission, when you receive this first 5,000 Rand, you need to calculate 10% of that amount. And you say the 10% of 5,000 Rand, and you get your 500 Rands. And that 500 Rand will be your collection fee. And because it's a collection fee, it means you are going to register it in your fees journal. And then we'll deal with that just now. Now, that is your collection fee. And then you come the next month, he gave you 5,000, and then you calculate your 10%, you've got your 500 Rand, and in 2 months you have made a fee of 1,000 Rands. And then it happens like that, That's why we say the 10% is on the collected amount. Not on the debt, but on the collected amount. That is your collection fee. But what is the catch with this collection fee is that you charge a collection fee of 10% of the collected amount. That is 10% of the collected amount, or 1,500, whichever is the less. 10% of the collected amount or 1,500, whichever is the less. In this case, you have been collecting 5,000 and your 10% gave you 500 rand for each collection. If you collect over a period of 10 months, and then you'll end up having that 5,000 rand. Because that is 10% every time you collect a certain amount of money from a debtor. Now let's assume on month number 6, the debtor decides to say, I need to pay more. And then on that month number 6, the debtor pays you 20,000 rands. And you calculate the 10% of 20,000 rand, it tells you that the 10% of 20,000 rands is 2,000 rands. Now the question is, if we got that 10% collection fee of 2,000 rand, can we take the whole 2,000 rand as our fee? Or do we have any limitation? But as I said, it is 10% of the collected amount. It is 10% of the collected amount or 1,500 rand, whichever is the less. In this case, you've collected 20,000 rand and your 10% is 2,000 rand. And then you know that it could either be 10% or maximum of 1,500 rand. In this case, because the 10% is 2,000 rand, it means you automatically forfeit the 500 rand, and then your collection fee will be 1,500 rands. Now, let's take this further. Let's say you are also registered for VAT. Now the question is, if you are registered for VAT, how are you going to deal with that? Does the 1,500 rand include VAT, or do you still have to charge for that VAT? Now, if you are registered for VAT, the 1,500 rand does not include VAT. If you are registered for VAT, you must still calculate the VAT. You must still calculate the VAT. In other words, you are going to say this 1,500 rand, which is the maximum collection, plus the 15% of 1,500 rand. Now the question is, how much is the 15% of 1,500 rand? Just check that for me, and of 1,500 rand. What is the 10%?
225.
225 rand. So that is the 15% of 1,500. That means at the end of the day, you can take your total fee of 1,725. That means 1.5 plus 225. So you can take your total fee will be 1,725 because your fee then will be inclusive of the VAT. So please remember, this does not include VAT. You must still say plus 15% VAT, and then you get your correct amount, the correct amount that you are going to debit against your client. So as you can see here, we've got what you call the receiving of instruction and the giving of instruction. So the correspondent has two legs. That is the giving of receiving of instruction as well as the giving of instruction. So what I'm starting with is what we call the receiving of instruction. That is what I am going to deal with now as soon as we are done with these basics of the correspondent work. Now, as we talked about the 1/3 allowance, and this 1/3 allowance is only applicable on the fees, not on the disbursement. Disbursement, if you pay 3,000 Rand in respect of disbursement, you must get back the 3,000 Rand. So it doesn't increase, it does not decrease. So that is how the third allowance works. Okay. Now, even on correspondent year, you will see that in your convention, we talk about your cash book, which is a book of first entry. That's your trust cash book, your business cash book, and then you've got those ledgers, your ledgers, your client's ledgers that you also have there. And then the same thing goes to the giving of instructions, and then your cash book for first entry, trust cash book, business cash book, and then you've got your trust ledger, you've got your correspondence trust ledger account, and then we've got client's trust ledger account. That is in the giving of instructions. Now you'll see here again, we're still trying to explain correspondent further. That is the receiving of instruction. You'll see business ledger account, business account of a client, instructing fee and VAT. So that is where you record into the business ledger of your client. So as I said when you started here, to say in the business ledger, that is where you record what the client owes you. And therefore, you will see that in that business ledger where you are recording what the client owes you, you will have recorded whatever that the client owes you in terms of the fees, as well as the disbursement that the client owes you. And if the client is registered for VAT, and the VAT will be calculated, and the total of what you are owed plus those other transactions, those other entries that you will get, you will have to record into your books. Now you see there we refer to your non-cash books of first entry, and that's basically your journals. You look at your fee journal, your transfer journal, and then you've got your trust journal. As you can see there, it says the fee journal, you record that in, that is the, you record the fees charge. Every time you charge your client fees, it must be recorded in the fees journal. And then you've got your transfer journal, that is when you transfer your fees. And your fees will normally be transferred from the client's trust to the same client's business before you pay yourself. That is what we call the transfer journal. That is at that stage. And therefore, you need to be, to make sure that you understand when you are dealing with a correspondent in respect of the receiving of instructions and when you are working with the giving of instructions. You will see here, giving instruction is not a problem. Business ledger, business account of a client, instructed correspondent, and there's a fee and your VAT. Non-cash book of first entries, there's a fee journal there. There's a trust journal and there is a transfer journal. So those are the different type of journal that you will find in those different type of books, depending on which book you are working on. And while it's still there on the fees, I need to emphasize this. When you are a legal practitioner, remember we are just talking here about the 1/3 to say, as the instructed attorney, you need to give the instructing attorney what we call a third on the fee. Now, it's very important to take note of this statement because that third on the fee, you can only give provision for third on the fees if you are going to pay that fees to a legal practitioner or a practicing legal practitioner. You cannot give anyone any right or where it's going to force you to pay them to act as your correspondent. There must always be an attorney to an attorney in terms of the correspondent work where you are going to pay the correspondent the allowances that you have agreed on. Why are we saying that? It's because they are assigned what you have agreed on, the allowances that you have agreed on is tantamount to sharing fees. And remember we said that you cannot share fees with anybody who is not a practicing legal practitioner. Very important to remember that. I always tell students to say you need to be very careful and vigilant when you leave here to go and open your own practice and start practicing. And some of you are already visiting your magistrate court and your regional court. And you remember that in every court that you go at, you are going to get those guys who are nicely dressed. They dress so nice, even attorney cannot dress like them. And they are always around court. And what they do is that most of the time they will get clients for you. They will get clients and then they will approach you to say, we've got client, but we can give you that clients provided you give us a certain percentage of your fees. To an extent where they say to you that we are going to share the fees equally if I give you this client. And then because you need money and you need it quickly, you apply for a bail is granted, and then you go and share the fees with that particular person that you promised to share the fees with. But this is my problem, that normally will get you into trouble. This is the problem that will normally get you into trouble. Now, I want you to look at this. Let's say this guy approaches you and then he promised to give you work in exchange for the sharing of the fees. In exchange for you in sharing the fees with him. Now I need to give you a very specific example. I want to give you a very specific what do you call it? Scenario and see how much basically are you losing on this transaction. This guy comes to you and say to you, I've got this client here and this client has got an amount of 10,000 and you need to apply for a bail on behalf of his friends. No, he doesn't tell you about the 10,000. He consults with this client and say, I will help you. Give me 10,000 and the client pop out 10,000 and he gives to this guy. Now this guy approaches you, the attorney, and he says to the attorney, I've got a client here who needs to apply for a bail. Can you assist him because he has given me 4,000 rands to apply for that bail? He says he can only afford 4,000 rands. Now, looking at the circumstances and the fact that you quickly need money, you agree to this 4,000 rand arrangement, you apply for a bail, is granted, you are happy, the client is happy, the client asks for a business card, you give the client a business card, the client says bye-bye, you say bye-bye, you've got, there is the 4,000 rands. Now, remember this 4,000 rand is the fee that you know of. Now, out of this 4,000 rands, this means this one is left with 6,000 rand. Now, out of this 4,000 rand, you gave him, you gave him 2,000 rand because that is a fair share. And then, as soon as you give him that 2,000 rand, that means he's got 8,000 rand in his pocket. He's got 8,000 rand in his pocket. You are left with 2,000 rand here, and the other 2,000 rand, because you are still fresh, you don't know what you are doing around the court, and then that prosecutor guy realized that you are somehow not up to date, and he approaches you, or you approach him and say, please assist me with this bail. And the prosecutor says, what is in for me? And you say, no, I'll give you 500 rand. Now you are left with 1,500 rand. Now you apply for a bail, the bail is granted. You've got your 1,500 rand in your pocket and you are happy that you got your first pay. But what you don't realize is that there is a problem here. On this 8,000 rand, there is a serious problem. This matter here is coming to court again on the 15th of September. Now, when the client arrives on the 15th September, he starts looking around and he or she cannot see you. Remember, she has paid 20,000 rand. Now, you think she has paid 4,000 rand. She hasn't paid 4, she has paid 20. It's only that the other one came to you and the other one, money remains with him. Now, when this matter comes back to court, this client says, I can't see my attorney outside. And then I break the attorney, I pay the attorney. And then the magistrate says, get hold of him. And then he doesn't get hold of you, or the client get hold of you, and you refuse to speak to the client. And the client went back into the court and said, the magistrate, I have found my attorney, but he does not want to assist me. He tells me that what he has made me pay was enough for the case, but the case is not finalized. And then this magistrate says to you, I don't have time to play, please go and report this person at LPC. And then you are reported there, and then the next thing you see a letter coming, and then you are forced to go for disciplinary hearing. And the disciplinary hearing, you tell them the same story regarding what you have received here from this client. You say to the LPC to say, I have received 4,000. The client says, no, I gave you 10,000. That man that you were with on that day, he took 10,000 rand from me and I saw him giving it to you. That's why you have applied for bail on my behalf. My money is 10,000 rand. Now, what does the Legal Practice Council do? The Legal Practice Council comes to you and say, Mr. Attorney, give us the receipt. Whether it's a trust or a business receipt, give us the receipt to show that this client indeed gave you 4,000 rand. And now, when you try to look, you don't have the 4,000 rand. Sleep. Now, you already have problems. And then they go deeper yet because they hear that you were with somebody. They want to find out with this person, and it later came out that this person was nothing other than a touter that you are sharing fees with. Then you've got another charge. And then they come back to you and say, this client has paid you 10,000 because they're not going to talk about 4,000 rand. If the client says 10 and you don't have a receipt, this client has paid you 10,000 rand and then you have failed to assist this client. It's another charge again. Failure to execute client's mandate after having received the deposit. And then you've got a problem again. Now you can say that charges are piling and piling and piling. And where is this guy? And one of the most disgusting things is that this guy has got 8,000 rands and you only have 1,500 rand. And who applied for that bail? Who worked for that bail? It is this guy here with a total fee of 1,500, while clever people go home with 8,000 rand. And this 8,000 rand is the one that is taking you under when this client reports you to the Legal Practice Council. And when you go under, when you get charged, where will this person be? Nowhere to be found. Or you will be standing there at the court corridor waiting for another victim like yourself to pitch in. And then to go, and when this goes on, they also realize that you shared fees with somebody who is not a practicing legal practitioner, and for that reason, you are already in deeper trouble. Please, those people I know, that they will tell you something that you really want to hear. They will tell you how much they have trained your bosses. They will tell you how much sleepy your bosses were when they started there, and they're the one that boosted them up. And please, do not get taken by that. It's almost career suicidal. Do not do that. They will get you into serious trouble. And remember, I said to you, Every time you receive the money from the client, you need to issue a receipt. Whether it's a trust receipt or whether it's a business receipt, but you must issue a receipt to your client. That is very, very important. If it's business money, issue the client with a business check. If it's trust money, issue the client with trust receipt, not check, but trust receipt and business receipt. That is a requirement. Cannot run away from that. That is a requirement. So I was just dealing with the fact that you need to be very careful. Don't share fees with anybody who is not a practicing legal practitioner. That is why even if your brother has got bigger offices in Durban and you need a correspondent there, you cannot appoint your brother who is not a practicing legal practitioner. If your brother is a doctor, let him practice medicine. And that medicine should not have anything to do with your practice. And that is how our third allowance works. Sorry, that is how our third allowance works, and that is how you deal with to avoid the sharing of the fees with somebody who is not a practicing legal practitioner. If you work with me, you can only give me my fees, but you cannot share fees with me because I'm not an attorney, I am an advocate. So you can't use me as a correspondent. You need an attorney who will be able to assist you to run around to get whatever that needs to be they need to get and serve all the necessary documentation. So it's important to remember that no sharing of fees with anybody who is not a practicing legal practitioner. And then the comments there, the correspondent attorney may charge fees for receiving of instruction, issue of the summons, correspondence, and issuing other court notices. So those is just cases where you can charge your fee. So where you are allowed to charge a fee for doing those type of correspondence. Payment received from a debtor are the trust money. So the trust cash book will be debited and the corresponding trust ledger account credited. You do not open a trust ledger account of the debtor. So there is no trust ledger account of the debtor because the debtor must just pay and disappear. So you are not going to open any ledger for the debtor. So you simply say, on whose behalf am I receiving this money? If your client is John and you are receiving this money in John's name, that means you need to go to John's ledger account and you credit it with that same amount. Now you've got bulletin number 5. There's a practical exercise there, and then it says you are instructed by your correspondent, the instructing correspondent, to recover 5,000 from XYZ on behalf of his client LABC. Now you see that the correspondent attorney, the instructing attorney, instruct the instructed attorney to recover 5,000. This 5,000 has not been recovered. You only have a mandate to recover it. In other words, again, you are not going to record it anywhere in your books because this is just a mandate. Now, where was I? Okay, so ABC is your client, and then you become a client of XYZ. So ABC is your client. In executing the mandate, the following transactions occur. You charge an instruction fee of 120 Rand, and I always see principle remains principle. If it's a fee, it means it's a fee, and for you to record the fee, you need to record the fee in the fees journal. And in that fees journal, you are obviously going to debit your client's business because your client is the one who must pay you those fees. And therefore, you credit your fee and then you credit your VAT. So your VAT, you record that in the fees journal. That's be recorded in the fees. It must be recorded in the fees journal. That is where you need to record that transaction. That's why I'm saying if you got the principles right, Nothing is going to be difficult. Even in these cases where they're saying that it's a fee, you start by recording a fee. Because you know exactly how to deal with this transaction. You know exactly that as soon as they say to me, this is a fee, it simply means that I must record a fees journal. I must record a fees journal, and therefore you record a fees journal like that, and then you also have to find out if you need to make provision for VAT. And if you have to make provision for VAT, we will be specific in the statement to say you need to make provision for VAT. That's very, very important for you to remember. VAT only if you are registered for VAT. Remember, I just said to you now that you cannot raise fees by adding VAT if you are not registered for VAT. It's very, very important to always remember that, because again, as I said, it's a criminal offense for you to be charging your client VAT if you are not registered for VAT. Please do not take a chance. Do not take a chance by adding the VAT where you are not supposed to add VAT. Okay, that is a fee. You pay the tracing agent 100 Rand. Now, this tracing agent that you are paying here is a disbursement. Now, because it's a disbursement, we are saying that when you pay your when you pay disbursement, and later on you must be paid your disbursement, it means it must be paid in cash. If you pay the disbursement and that disbursement that you need to be repaid back, it must be repaid back as you have paid it. That's simple as that. It's very important to always remember that. There is no allowances on the disbursement. You pay 100 Rand disbursement, you must be repaid 100 Rand disbursement as you have paid it. Remember that. And now they say you issue summons and charge a fee of 180 Rand. If you issue summons and then you charge a fee of 180 Rand, and again, remember I said, if it's a fee, it means you need to record that fee in your fees journal. You need to record that fee in your fees journal. Every time you raise a fee, it must be paid, it must be recorded in your fees journal. And then number 4, XYZ pays you 2,500 Rand of the debt. And then in debiting the fees, you are entitled to collection commission, and provision should be made for that at 15%. The usual 1/3 allowance is also applicable. You are required to record the above transactions in your books of account and account fully to your correspondent by preparing an accounting statement. I want you and me to try and attempt that statement of correspondent. Let's see how you record the correspondent transactions. So I will take you through that process of dealing with that transaction, on how you record those transactions right from the beginning up until, so that you can see how the correspondent transactions work. And you will see again that these transactions are not what people have been telling you. They are not as difficult as they are, because I have this tendency of meeting people and they will tell me, we want you to assist us with correspondent work, because we have been told that that is the most difficult part of this bookkeeping. And I always tell them, I don't know who told you, but that person honestly, he or she does not know what they are talking about. Alternatively, they have never been to the classes where I was basically giving those classes, because if you have been to my classes, you will know that I'm basically against that idea where somebody tells me that correspondence is a difficult work to do. Now, I want us to read that statement, and as we read, please remember, principles remains principles. Principles are not going to change now because we are dealing with a correspondent word. Yes, we might be recording transactions, somehow making addition here and there, but as I say, principles are principles. If it's a fee, it must go to a fee journal. If it's client's money, you must receive in trust. If you pay this person, firstly check if there's money in trust from that specific client. If there's no money, you pay from your own business account and you make the client a business debtor. That's why I'm saying principle remains. Principle is not going to change suddenly because now you are dealing with correspondent. Now, let's read that statement together. And as I read that statement, we will try and record it. It says there, you are instructed by your correspondent, the instructing correspondent, to recover 5,000 from XYZ on behalf of his client ABC. In executing the mandate, the following transactions occurred. Number one, you charge an instruction fee of 120 Rand. Now what I'm saying is this 120 Rand is a fee. And because it's a fee, we all agree so far that the fee will need to be recorded in the fees journal. And for that reason, because they are talking about the fee, it simply means you need to go and open a fee journal. So let's go and open a fee journal. Let's open a fee journal. This is not a fee journal. I want you to open a fee journal. You have seen how we record the journals the other day. That's what I want you to do. Let's record a fee journal. Let's record a fee journal. So let's record our fee journal here. That is a fee journal. Record that fee journal like that as I've recorded it there. That is your fee journal. And remember, because this is a correspondent matter, and as I indicated to you earlier on to say, in the correspondent matter, when you charge your fee, you charge a fee against the instructing attorney, who is the correspondent. That is why in your fee journal here, those fees you are going to debit them against the correspondent business, because this correspondent here is the one who must pay the fees. Your credit fee, you also credit your VAT, and this is what you call an instruction fee. Debit correspondent business, credit fee, and then credit your VAT. And then you all agree that the fee here is 120 rands. You record your fee there at 120 rands. And then you say, what is the 15% of 120 rands? What is the 15% of 120 rands?
18.
18, correct. That is 18 rand. And remember, your client must pay both the fees and the VAT. Therefore, 120 plus 18, it gives you how much?
138.
138, correct. Therefore, debit correspondent business 138, credit your fee 120, and then credit your VAT at 18 rand. That is your instruction fee and VAT. That is in your fees journal. Now, as it is in your fees journal, you need to post it to your ledgers. Everything you record in your fees journal, it must ultimately be posted to your ledgers. It says here, debit correspondent business 138. It's called correspondent business. This is correspondent business, and they say here that we need to debit that correspondent business. Okay. Debit correspondent business, therefore we say here instruction fee. Instruction fee and VAT, that is 138. And then you go to the fee journal again. It says here, credit your fee at 120. And then we go in and look for a fee ledger, and this is your fee ledger. They say credit 120. And then that is correspondent. Then the fee there is 120. That is 120. And then there again it says credit your VAT at 18 rands. And then you come here, this is your VAT which you are going to credit. And then again, correspondent business, you credit here at 18 rands. That is how you record that fee and VAT. You simply debit correspondent business 138, which is the fee of 120 plus 18 rand VAT, and then you credit fee 120, and then you credit VAT at 18 rand. So that is how you record that transaction there. Now, this is very important now. As soon as you have recorded it here, remember I said that every fee that you raise, you must give the correspondent an allowance. And that allowance is on the 1/3 of the fees that you have raised. In other words, you need to know how much is the third of 120. And the other thing about these allowances is that it is the third of the fee that you give an allowance on, or anything less than 1/3. In other words, instead of making provision for your allowance fee at 1/3, you can agree on a 20%, on a 10%, 25%. You can even agree on a zero allowance. The only thing that you are not allowed to do is to agree on an allowance of more than 1/3. So if it's 1/3 or less, it is allowed. In this case, they say make provision for allowance, the normal 1/3 allowance. Therefore, it means we are going to give a third of 120. And to give a third of 120, you simply say 120 divided by 3, and then it gives you your third. Now, because you are giving allowances on the fees, you need to go and start in the fees journal. That's where you need to start. You need to come here on the fees journal and say, I need to give an allowance of this. I need to pay back a third of all this amount here. Now, I always say, to give an allowance of the initial fee, you need to come here. To make it very simple for you, come here first on the narration part here. Because you debited correspondent business 138. Now you want to give something back of this 138. Now, initially you debited. To give something back, it means now you must credit. Come here and say, credit correspondent business. Then you say, you credited your fee and your VAT, now you must debit fee. You must also debit VAT. You can say this is allowance fee. But your allowance fee and VAT. That's what you do. The direct opposite on narration. You debited correspondent business, now you credit correspondent business. You created fees, now you debit fees. you credited VAT, now you debit VAT. And this is your allowance fee plus VAT. Allowance fee on the instruction fee. Now let's come here on the values now. How much is the third of 120?
It's 40.
It's 40. Now remember, this is a fee, the 40. Now here it says debit it. That in other words, we must debit that 40. Therefore, you come here and then you say it's 40 rands. Debited. And then you say, what is the third of 18 rand or 15% of 40 rand? It will give you the same amount. How much is it? How much? How much would that be?
I think it's 6. 15 percent of 40 rand, it's 6 rand.
6 rand, correct. The correct value there will be 6 rand. Correct value there will be 6 rand, and now 40 rand plus 6 rand, that's what you create correspondent business with, which is going to be how much? 46 rand.
46.
Correct. That will be 46 rand. That is how you give the allowance. Now, if you take 138 divided by 3, it will give you 46 rand. Divide 120 by 3, it gives you 40. Divide 18 by 3, it gives you 6 rand. So that is how you give the allowances. Now, as it is in this journal, you post it to your ledgers. Credit correspondent business with 46 rand. And then let's go to the correspondent business and credit with that 46 rand. This is correspondent business, credit it this side. Then say allowance fee. Fee and VAT. Allowance fee and VAT, that is at 46 rand. Then you go back to the journal again. It says here debit fee at 40 rand. Then you come here, this is a fee, debit is on the left hand side. Then you come here and say allowance. And that is 40 rand. Then you've got your VAT. Then you go back here, it tells you that your VAT now must be debited with 6 rand. Then you come here, VAT now must be debited with 6 rand. Again, allowance. And that is 6 rand. That's what you do when you give an allowance. Firstly, raise the fee. After raising the fees, and then you calculate the allowances. Simple as that. We'll get another fee again, and then we'll calculate it accordingly, so until you know how to calculate that. Number 2, you pay a tracing agent 100 rands. Now the question is, from which account are we going to pay the tracing agent? From which account are you going to pay the tracing agent?
Business account.
Business account. We are going to pay from the business account because remember we have not received any deposit from what do you call it? From the correspondent. Therefore, there is no money in trust, and for that reason we must pay from our own business account, and then you make the correspondent a business debtor. In other words, we come here, we open a business cash book, open a business cash book here, open a T account for the business cash book. Open a T account for the business cash book. Let's open a T account for our business cash book. And in this T account for business cash book, remember in your business cash book, you pay from the credit side. Now you are paying that tracing agent. You come here on the credit side and say tracing agent. You are paying it on behalf of correspondent. Pay it on behalf of correspondent, and that tracing agent's fee is 100 rands. That's what you do when you pay that tracing agent's fee. Go to your business cash book credit side, you credit with 100 rands. And then you are going to debit. Now, before we even get there, now you say, on whose behalf am I paying this tracing agent's fee of 100 rand? You are paying from your own business account. That means somebody must owe you this money. Then you say, on whose behalf am I paying this? So far we all know that you are paying this tracing agent on behalf of the correspondent here. That means the person that you must go and debit, it must be correspondent's business. Remember, business here will always go with business. Therefore, it means you are going to debit the correspondent's business ledger account. So let's look for the correspondent's business ledger account. This is the correspondent business ledger account that we are going to debit, because as soon as we debit here, it means he owes us that money. And then you come here and then you say tracing agent. Tracing agent, and that is 100 rands. That is after having credited your business cash book. And with this tracing agent here, because it's a disbursement, you only debit the correspondence business, and then you credit your business cash book. That's all you do. No allowances on the disbursement. You simply credit your business cash book, and then you debit correspondent business ledger account, and that's all you do. Simple as that. So nothing more than what we have done there that you are going to need to record there. Okay. Now, we go to the next transaction. You issue summons and charge a fee of 180 rands. And we are saying that 180 is a fee. And because it's a fee, in which journal are we going to record the 180?
In the fee journal.
Fee journal, correct. Let's record another fee journal then. Let's record another fee journal. Okay. In this fees journal here, you are going to debit correspondent business. Then you're going to credit fee, credit VAT. That is someone's fee. Someone's fee and that. Now we know that the fee there is 180. That means you are going to credit your fee here at 180. You're going to credit your fee there at 180. Yes, record that fee journal so that I don't, I'm not far ahead of you. Can you record that fees journal? Record that fees journal as I've recorded it there. Just trying to add something here. Okay. Okay. Now that we have recorded that, then we say, what is the 15% of 180?
27.
27. Then you credit your VAT there at 27 rand. And then you say 180 plus 27, it gives you how much?
207.
207. That is how you record that fee in your journal. Debit correspondent business 207, credit fee 180, and credit your VAT at 27 rands. Now, as it is in that fees journal, you post it to your ledgers. It says here, debit correspondent business 207. Let's go to correspondent business ledger account and debit with that 207. This correspondent business ledger account, we are going to debit here. That's your summons fee. And VAT. Summons fee plus VAT is 207. On the debit side, on the left-hand side of the correspondent business, summons fee and VAT 207. And then you go back to the journal again. It says here, credit fee at 180. And then you're going to credit your fee ledger with 180. This fee ledger, and then again you say here. Correspondent business. And that is 180. Credit the fee ledger with 180. Credit fee ledger with 180. Then you go back again to the journal. It says here, credit your VAT at 27 rand. And then you go to your VAT, you're going to credit here at 27 rands. That is 27 rands. Now we have recorded that fee of 180 plus the VAT of 27 rand, and the total was 207, as you can see is debited here on the correspondent business, because your client always pays both the fees and the VAT. So this 207 is inclusive of the VAT, therefore he must pay the full amount. And that again is a fee. And we said every fee that you raise, you must give an allowance. That means as soon as you have raised that fee of 180, now you must record an allowance. And therefore, as I said, you need to start here in your journals here. And then you say the direct opposite. I debited correspondent business, now I'm going to credit correspondent business. Credit correspondent and then you debit your fee, the direct opposite, and then you debit your VAT. So just something here. Okay. And now that is where you're going to give an allowance now. As I said, the direct opposite. You debited correspondent business, now you credit correspondent business. Credited fee and VAT, now you debit fee and VAT. Now let's start with our fee. Our fee here is 180. What is the allowance of 180? What is the third of 180? What's the third of 180? 60, correct. 60 here, and then you say, what is the 15% of 60 rand? Or the third of 27 will be give you the same amount.
9.
9 rand. Okay, that is 9 rands. And then you say 60 rand plus 9 rand, and then give you 69 rands. Then you credit correspondent business there, 69 rands. Credit correspondent business, 69 rands. And then as it is in that journal, you take it to your ledgers. It says here, credit correspondent business, 69 rand. Let's go to correspondent business and credit. This correspondent business credited this side. Then you say allowance fee. This is 69 rands. And then you come back here on the journal again, it says debit your fee at 60 rand. Then you come here, this is your fee ledger. You're going to debit here. That is 60 rands. And then come here again, it says debit your VAT at 9 rands. And you go back here, this is your VAT, debit is on the left hand side, and then you say allowance. That is 9 rands. And that is how you record that fee there of 180. You also calculated your allowance fee, and therefore everything has been recorded on that journal, and you also posted it to your ledgers accordingly. Now, as soon as you have done that, now we can move to number 4. They say there, XYZ pays you 2,400 rand of the debt. Now you are receiving money from a debtor. And this money that you are receiving from a debtor is client's money. Now, in which account are we going to receive this 2,400? In which account are we going to record the 2,400 rand?
Trust account.
In the trust.
Trust cash book, correct. Let's open a trust cash book here. Let's open a T account for a trust cash book. On this T account for trust cash book, we are going to credit. No, not credit, but we're going to debit. Say payment by XYZ. Say XYZ payment. That is with the amount of 2,400 rand. Now, this 2,400 rand that you receive from XYZ, who are we going to credit?
Trust correspondent.
Correct. We are going to credit correspondence trust because remember, our client is the correspondent. So ABC is a client of our client. So we've got nothing to do with ABC. Our client is a correspondent. We are collecting on behalf of the correspondent. That is why as soon as we collect, now we must credit the correspondent trust ledger account because to us the money belongs to the correspondent. That's why then you will need to come here. It's the correspondence trust, and then you're going to credit here. XTCB, and that is 2,400 rands. We have received that 2,400 rand by debiting our trust cash book, and then we credited correspondence. We created correspondence trust ledger account to show that the money has been received and it's paid to correspondent because we are collecting on behalf of the correspondent. That's all you do to receive that 2,400 rand. Now, this you also need to pay attention. You should not forget this. Now, the 2,400 rand is the amount that we have collected. It's very important to remember. We have collected an amount of 2,400 rand. And we said earlier on, when we talked about your collection commission, to say when you collect an amount of money, you must also charge a collection commission or a collection fee. So in many cases, we will not even say it's a fee, just say collection commission. So it's for you to remember that collection commission is always a fee. Now we've got a collected amount of 2,400 rand, and now we must charge that 10% collection commission. Now calculate the 10% of 2,400 and tell me how much is it?
240.
Yes, the collection, the 10% of 2,400 is 240. And we said your collection fee is 10% of the collected amount or 1,500, whichever is the less. So far, we know that 240 rand is less than 1,500 rand. That means we can work on the 240. And remember, very important, which I've said, that this is your collection commission, and therefore it's a fee. And if it's a fee, it needs a journal. And what journal would that be? That should be a fee. Correct, should be a fee journal. Let's see what's happening here. I'm not sure what I'm doing here. Same color. Okay. Okay, I'll try to record it there. I'll see if it's visible. And now, first you say debit. Okay, let me just. Debit correspondent. Business. Your credit fee. Your credit VAT. And that is your collection fee. And we say that your fee there is 240 rand. Therefore, you record the 240 rand here. And then we say, what is the 15% of 240 rand? What is the VAT of 240?
36.
36. 36 here, and you add the two together, it gives you how much?
276.
276, yes, correct. That is your fees general there. Debit correspondent business 276, credit fee 240 rand, and your VAT at 36 rand. And that is your collection fee and VAT. That's your collection fee and VAT. Now, as it is, now you proceed to your ledgers. It says here, debit correspondent business 276. Let's go to correspondent business and debit. This correspondent business here, they say debit here, your collection fee. And then you say, how much is it?
276.
276. Debit correspondent business 276. And then you go back to the journal again. It says here, credit your fee at 240. Then you come here, this is your fee, credit is here. And then that is 240. You credited on your fee. And then again, you credited your fee, and then you credit your VAT at 36 Rand. Then you come here, this is your VAT, your credit here at 36 Rand. At 36 Rand. No. This is wrong here, should not be here. Comes here on your fee here. And that is 36 Rand. And that is how you record that fee there. Debit correspondent business here, 276 Rand. And then credit fee here at 240 Rand. And a VAT at 36 Rand. That is how you record those transactions there. And then remember that is a fee. And we said that every fee that you raise, you must give an allowance. Now, even on that fee, we need to go and record that allowance is there. Let's record the allowance here. Let's hope you're going to be able to see it. And then on the allowance, the direct opposite, credit. No. Therefore, credit and business. And then debit fee, and debit your VAT. Credit correspondent business, debit your fee and debit your VAT. And then let's start here with our fee. How much is the third of 240?
It's 80.
80. Therefore, you record your 80 rands here. And then you say, how much is the 15% of 8 rand or the third of 36 rand? How much will it be?
12.
12, correct. And therefore, it means you are going to credit correspondent business with an amount of 8 rand plus 12 rand, which is 92 rands. That is how you record that allowance. Credit correspondent business, 92 rands. Debit your fee at 80 rands and your VAT at 12 rand. That is allowance on collection fee and VAT. Allowance on collection fee and VAT. Now, as it is, credit correspondent business 92 Rand. Then we come here, this is correspondent business, we are going to credit here. And that is your 92 Rands. Then you come back here, it says credit debit fee at 80 Rands. And then you come here, this is your fee here, debit. You come here, allowance. And therefore, that is 80 Rands. And then you come back here on the VAT, and it says here, debit your VAT at 12 Rands. And then you come here, this is your VAT, you debit here, 12 Rands. That is 12 Rands. Now, as you can see, we have basically recorded everything as per that statement because we have dealt with the last transaction with you on number 4 where you received 2,400 Rand. We calculate the collection fee of 240 Rand, calculate the VAT as well as the allowances. Now you have recorded everything as per that statement. And then say, in debiting the fees, you are entitled to collection commission and provision should be made for VAT at 15%. The usual 1/3 allowance is also applicable. You are required to record the above transactions in your books of account and account fully to your correspondent by preparing an accounting statement. So that's exactly what we have done. Now the question is, what do we do next? Now, what do we do next? And that next, I suggest that we take a break, and then after break, and then we can discuss what needs to be done as soon as we have recorded all the transactions as we have done. So let's quickly take a break, and before we start, we'll come back from break, and then we'll start with questions again. So let's take a break. Can we all come back at 7:30 so that we can finish that statement? So let's all resume at 7:30. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
You're welcome. Okay, we are going to restart now, and I want to believe that everybody is back with us, and I want to believe that everybody is back from tea time. I want everybody to be back so that we know where to start and what to do from what we have done or up to where we have recorded. Oh, not sure what happened to my screen. Okay, let's proceed now. As I indicated earlier on, to say, as you can see, we have recorded everything as per the statement. We have recorded everything as per the statement. Now the next question is, what do we do after we have recorded everything as per the statement? Now, what happened is that if you record everything as we have recorded like that, the next step that you need to do is to go back to those steps of conveyancing. Remember the 8 steps that we have recorded together. That is where we are going now after we have recorded everything, but we are not going to do all those steps, all of them. We are only going to do step number 7 and 8, and then the whole transaction will be done. Only step number 7 and 8, that is what you are going to do. And remember, step number 7 is a step where we said you are going to pay yourself. You are paying yourself. Now, let's go to step number 7, where you pay yourself. And we indicated that for you to pay yourself, you first need to know how much your client owes you. And for you to know how much your client owes you, which account do you balance? Which account do we balance to see how much we are owed by our client before we can pay ourselves?
I think it's the business.
Correct. It's the business. Correct. It's the business ledger of your client. In this case, we've got correspondent business ledger account. Let's go to the correspondent business ledger account and balance it. This is your correspondent business. Can you add together the debit side of this business ledger account and tell me how much you get? 138 plus 100 plus 207 plus 276. How much do you get?
721.
721.
721. Like that.
Yes.
Okay. Now 721 minus all the credit that we gave. Minus 46, minus 69, minus 92. How much is the balance?
514.
514. That simply means the correspondent owes 514 in business. The correspondent owes 514 in business. Now that we know that he owes 514 in business, the next question will be, are we holding sufficient deposit or sufficient money in trust on behalf of the correspondent to be able to pay the 514. Now we come here on the correspondence trust ledger because that is where we record what we are holding for this client. And you'll see here the credit side is 2,400 rands. The debit side here should be the same amount. $2,400. We are holding 2,400 rand for this client in trust, and he owes us only 514. That means there is enough money in trust to pay what he owes us in business. Now we go to step number 7.1, trust transfer. We are going to transfer from the correspondence trust ledger account to the same correspondent business ledger account what the correspondent owes us. Now that you are transferring from one client's trust to another, to the same client's business, what journal do we need?
Transfer journal.
Transfer journal, correct. You need a transfer journal. Let's record a transfer journal here. Let's record a transfer journal. In this transfer journal, you are going to debit then debit correspondence trust. And how much that correspondent owes us? 514. And then you credit correspondent business. The same amount, 514. And come here and say transfer value. That is your transfer journal. In the transfer journal, you debit correspondence trust 514 and credit correspondent business 514 because we are transferring the value of what the correspondent owes in business from the trust to the business so that we can pay ourselves. Now, as soon as you record your transfer journal like this, now you can post this transaction to your ledgers. It says here, debit correspondence trust. Now you need to go look for the correspondence trust and debit. This is the correspondence trust. You come here and say that value. Correspondent. And that amount is 514. You debit correspondence trust 514, and then you come here and credit correspondent business the same amount. Value. And then you credit here 514. That is how you record that value, by debiting the correspondence trust ledger account with 514 and crediting the correspondent business ledger account with the same amount 514. And that would have been your step number 7.1. Now we must go to 7.1, which is the value step. Now we must go to step number 7.2, which is the cash step, where we must do the actual transfer of funds. Which account do we debit, which account do we credit, and which account do we debit at step number 7.2. Which account do we credit and which account do we debit? Which account do we debit and which account do we credit? You see why why we don't allow you to go with those steps in the exam, because you will fail while having them in your hand. So the best way is not to allow you to take them to your exam. So step number 7.2. Tell me that you haven't done much over the weekend. What do we do, guys? Sometimes you need to tell you all the time, because you need to show me that you understand to some degree, so that I know where to emphasize and where not to emphasize. So, because if I do it by myself, I'll go with the same pace until I finish, because I don't know whether you understand or not. So I just assume you understand.
I think you credit this cash book and you debit the TCB and you credit the BCB, the business cash book.
You debit the business cash book and you credit the trust cash book, correct? Remember, 7.2 is where you do the actual transfer, and you can only do the actual transfer by transferring from the credit side of your trust cash book, and this is your money. You transfer it from the credit side into the into the debit side of your business cash book, and as soon as it's recorded here, it means the money is in your business account. Please do not forget this step. Is very important, more especially when you get to step number 7. You need to make sure that both two steps are done. Firstly, determine how much the client owes you. As soon as you know how much the client owes you and you balance the same client's trust ledger account, it tells you there is enough money. You record your transfer journal, debit the client's trust ledger account, credit the client's business ledger account with the balance that you got in that same client's business ledger account. As soon as you debit the client's trust, you credit the same client's business ledger account. When you go to 7.2, you see there, I indicated with the same amount in 7.1. In this case, the amount in 7.1 is 514. With the same in 7.1, you credit your trust cash book. In other words, you are transferring money from here. In other words, correspondent. BCB. Therefore, that 514. And we are saying this 514 is coming here into a business cash book. That's why after crediting here, you debit your business cash book here. That is 514. Because the thing is that okay. Trying to find something. Okay. Therefore, that 514 is debited against your business cash book. And therefore, as soon as your business cash book is debited with this 514, it simply means the money now is in your business account. Therefore, you are in a position to use it. And again, it means you are done with step number 7. Please make sure that you understand this step number 7 in full. Now we are done with step number 7, and then let's go to step number 8. Let's go to step number 8. Number 8 simply says account to client, and we can only account to client in their trust ledgers. Now let's see what trust ledgers do we have. This is the correspondence trust. We need to account to the correspondent. This is the only trust ledger that we have. You simply say here, the credit side is 2,400 rand, which is the bigger side. 2004 minus 514. How much is the balance? How much is the balance?
1486. Apologies, sir. I've left out the 400. It's not the correct amount.
It's not the correct amount, okay? How much is the balance then?
1886.
1886, correct. That simply means we owe the correspondent an amount of 1886. And therefore, we need to pay the correspondent that 1886. And remember, payments are always made from here, your trust cash book. And therefore, you come here on the credit side of your trust cash book and say payment. Payment that you are paying correspondent. 1886. You credit your trust cash book here with a payment of 1886 and say this payment is being made to the correspondent. And for that reason, because you have credited your trust cash book, now we need to go to the correspondent's trust ledger account and debit it. That's why now we come here. This is the correspondent's trust. Come here on the debit side and cash payment. CB 1886. Now the correspondent has been paid in full. We have paid the correspondent, we have accounted to client, because now if you add 514 plus 1886, it should be able to give you 2,400, which is the same value on the credit side. Now, as soon as you are done with this step, and now you can balance your cash books. You can balance your cash books. Let's start with our trust cash book. Let's balance our trust cash book. The debit side is 2,400 rand. It's only one value. 2,400 rand. And then we say, let's add together the credit side. 514 plus 1886. How much?
2,400.
Correct, 2,400 rand, thank you. And therefore it tells you that our business cash book balances. So not business but trust cash book. 2004 on the debit and 2004 on the credit side. Now we come here on our business cash book. So here the debit side, which is the bigger side, is 514. Five 514. You can just write it there on the credit side, and then you say 514 minus the credit side, which is 100 rand. How much will be the balance brought forward in respect of your fees? 414.
414.
Correct. That simply means we are basically done with that statement. That's all how you record a statement on the receiving of instruction. That's how you record your statement on the receiving of instructions. What is very important is never to forget, every fee that you raise, you must calculate allowance. Every collection that you get, you must calculate the 10% collection fee. If you remember those two, then you are done with the corresponding matter on the receiving of instruction. That's all, and that's how we record those transactions. You need to always remember that. You need to always remember that. Now, the last thing that we need to do is what we call an accounting statement. Let's record an accounting statement. An accounting statement to our correspondent. Just do a column of that nature. Just do a column of that nature, and I'll show you just now how do you record an accounting statement. You do a column of that nature, and I show you just now on how do you record that accounting statement. Now, to record this accounting statement, we need to go back to the question as it is. As we read that statement, and then we record our accounting statement. It says there, number one, you charge an instruction fee of 120. Therefore, you come here, write here instruction fee. And because the fee always goes to the debit side, because this is what you need to pay. Therefore, 120. Then you've got your 15% VAT. At 15%. How much was the VAT of 120? How much is the VAT of 120?
It was 18 Rand.
18 Rand, correct. And it goes to the debit side also, because it's the VAT of that fee that is on the debit side. And then you come here. Remember, every fee that we raised, we gave an allowance. Therefore, you come here and say allowance. Allowance fee. An allowance fee will always go to the credit side. Now, how much was the allowance of 120? How much was a third of 120?
40.
40 rands. It's a credit there, and then you say, now you record your VAT. %. And what is the VAT of 40 rands?
6 Rand.
6 rand. And then we are done with that fee of 120. You also calculate the allowances, then you can go to the next one. You pay the tracing agent 100 rand. Then you come here, say tracing agent. tracing agent. And because it's what you pay, must also always go to the debit side, 100 rands. And remember, tracing agent, no allowance. The disbursement, you simply record it like that and you leave it. And then you go to the next one. Summons fee, 180 rands. When you come here, right, as it is, summons fee. And because the fee again goes to the debit side, 180. Fee there, 180, debit side. And thereafter you record your VAT. What is the VAT of 180? The 15% of 180.
27.
That is your 27 rands. It also goes to the debit side. Then every fee that you raise, you must give allowance. Then you say, what is the third of 180?
60.
60. And then also 15% VAT. VAT
9
at
rand.
9 rands, correct. And then that's allowance fee, and then you go back to the question. XYZ pays 2,400 rand. And you can say received payment. And this is a payment received. Because it's a payment received, it goes to the credit side, 2,400 rand. Goes to the credit side. Money received always goes to the credit side. And because it's money received, remember I said every amount that you receive, you must calculate the collection fee. Therefore, you come here and say collection commission. Collection commission, and we said how much is the collection fee of 2,400 rand? How much is it? How much is the 240, correct, the 10%. Then say that 10% of 240 and say how much is the VAT? How much is the VAT of 240? 36, correct. Correct. Then every fee that you raise, you must give an allowance. Therefore, allowance fees. Allowance fee, and it's a credit side. How much is the allowance of 240?
80.
80. Correct. And then you say, how much is the VAT of 80?
12.
12 rand, correct. That tells you that we have recorded all those transactions as per the question. Now let's add together the credit side. 40 rands plus 6 rands plus 60 rands plus 9 rands plus 2,400 rands plus 80 rands plus 12, friends. How much is the total? When you add together the credit side, how much do you get?
2,600. 2,607.
2607, like this.
Yes, like that.
Okay. Okay. 2607. Now you say 2607 minus the debit side, minus 120, minus 18, minus 100, minus 180, minus 27, minus 240, minus 36.
It's 11886.
And say it's how much? 1886. Now at the bottom there, the balance there says attach proof of EFT payment in the amount of 1886. Now remember, this statement goes to the correspondent year. Statement here goes to this correspondent. And the EFT, proof of EFT payments is 1886. And this 1886, as I said, goes to the correspondent year. You come here on your trust cash book here. You see the payment that you made the correspondent on the credit side of your trust cash book. It says 1886. In other words, if your accounting statement does not reflect this amount here, that means your accounting statement needs to be re-looked at. If you are making an accounting statement to the correspondent, that accounting statement must show the amount that you paid over to the correspondent on the credit side of your trust cash book, which is 1886. That is how you record your accounting statement. As I said, I always say, your accounting statement should not be difficult to record. What is very important with your accounting statement, as you can see, on the debit side here, we only record the fees and disbursement. All these are the fees plus disbursement. So all the fees and disbursement goes to the credit side. So the debit side, not credit side. All fees and disbursement must be recorded on the debit side because these are what needs to be paid. And then on the credit side, you've got the amount received as well as all the allowances. Remember, the allowances were being paid to. And therefore, all those allowances plus the received amount goes to the credit side. The debit side is only fees and disbursements. The rest, you see, they go to the credit side. And if you record it like this, you'll see it will give you the exact amount, 1886. And that is how you do your accounting statement, and that is how you can get to memorize your accounting statement, so that when you've got those type of a statement, you do not struggle with doing an accounting statement, because you know exactly what should go to the debit side, you know exactly what should go to the credit side in as far as your accounting statement is concerned. The way the accounting statement is so easy. I've went to a state where I've seen students in the exam, when they get a statement of this nature, they will start by recording an accounting statement before they record the transactions. because they don't want to lose that free 5 to 7 marks. So they will start with it. It's no problem if you start with it, as long as you know what you are doing, and there is no problem at all with starting with an accounting statement, because you don't want to lose that mark, that free marks at the end of the day. But in brief, that is basically how you deal with a statement, which is the receiving of instructions. Please remember, when you do receiving of instructions, every time you need to make sure that when you record these transactions, more especially the fees, you need to calculate the allowances on the fees, and you need to calculate the collection fee, so the collection commission at 10% or 1,500, whichever is the less. And the one thing that I want to emphasize on that collection commission of and the maximum of 1.5. Please remember that the 1.5 is your fee. Now, if you are registered for VAT, the 1.5 does not include your fee. That means you still need to calculate VAT of 1.5. That means it's going to be 1,005 plus VAT. Because remember, your fee still remains at 1.5. Anything beyond 1.5 is VAT. It's not your fee. That's why you can say 1.5 plus VAT. Do not always assume that the VAT is included. VAT is not included unless it's mentioned. If not mentioned, you still need to get the VAT of that 1,500, which is your maximum collection. Please remember that. I've seen that happening many times, that students will want to assume that the 1.5 is VAT inclusive. It's not VAT inclusive unless it specifically indicated to say that value includes VAT. That is how you deal with the receiving of instructions. Any questions so far on the receiving of instructions? Any question? Are we coming right, guys? I will hate to hear one day I meet you on the street and you tell me that you did not hear a thing, because I'm here to make sure that you hear something. This is what you need to know in as far as your board exam are concerned, in as far as knowing the basics in your business when you run your business are concerned. So these are things that you definitely expect to know. Preparing your board exam is very crucial that you understand what we are doing here. The double entry rule, very important. You have seen how we did our bank reconciliation statement. You have seen how we did with conveyancing. Now today we are busy with correspondent on the receiving of instructions. So any questions so far? You're telling me that all 76 of you're all getting it the same way. Nobody has a question, nothing, or just not sure. But this is how you do your correspondent transactions. It's very important. It's very, very important. We always have the correspondent transactions in our, in our exams, because it's very important that you need to know this type of transactions, whether here, whether in your practice or everywhere you go. As long as you are a legal practitioner, we will expect you to know these transactions. Okay, so now we see you. No problem with that. As long as you are catching up with us.
Yes, sir.
Okay, no problem. And look, I'm not sure if I've spoken this with you, and you will see, more especially you guys are somehow the first or the second group from the time that we no longer or what you call the checks have been phased out. So it might be a struggle for you when you prepare for your board exam and you prepare on the previous board exam papers, and in those exam papers you see most of the time we are talking about checks. You receive a check payment of this much. A check was returned by the bank marked refer to draw. Check made on this day on January 2021, and then in August 2021, the check has still not been presented to the bank for payment. So when you do your practice, you're going to find those type of transactions. And unfortunately, we are moving away from the check on the basis that the checks have been phased out. So there's no need for us to continue teaching students with the checks. So you will be faced with a situation where you have to adjust from dealing with the check payments and the check receipt into EFT payments and EFT receive EFT payments. So you will need to deal with that adjustment. So when you get there and you see a lot of checks, do not be mad at me and say that guy did not talk much about the checks. Yes, it is meant that we should no longer talk much about them because they don't exist anymore. So please try to adjust as much as you can. That's why I would have wished that you have practiced over the weekend, so that if you practiced over the weekend and you were able to touch one or two previous board exam paper, I would have been able to discuss those with you today or during the week, so that I assist you in that transition from checks into EFT payments. So please, if you have time, if you can punish yourself, study hard and work even on those, and see where you've got questions, and then give me those questions while I'm still here, so that I can assist you with whatever that I need to assist you before we finish what we are doing. And I believe that we are either finishing Thursday or Friday. So you do not have much time on your side. So you will need to move a bit faster, so that let me assist you where possible, where I can assist you. So please try to do that, so that you are able to spot those differences. The other thing that you also might find out about when you are preparing things, you are like your collection fee, your collection commission. So sometimes you find those other old papers where the maximum of the collection commission was 350, and there was a time where it was 1,000 rand. So when you come across those 350 and 1,000 rand, just remember that there was a time when the maximum that you could collect was 350, and there was the time when it was what do you call it? It was 1,000 rand. So when you see the value of the collection fee, for instance, being 1,200 rand, but we took a maximum of 1,000 rand, you must remember that which I'm trying to say now. That is because of those limitations that keeps on changing and changing. So you need to be able to identify that as and when you are working on your previous board exam paper. So those are some of the things that you should encounter. But I'll keep on telling you about some of those that you will definitely encounter, so that when you get them, you know that we have spoken about them in the class. So any questions so far? Because I think if I start another exercise now, we might even go beyond 9:30. So let's hear if we've got questions before I release you today. And if I release you early, I'm not saying go and sleep early. I'm simply saying go and start early to practice. Forget about sleeping for now. So, look, I want to believe that perhaps today we should end our class here. We will finish up this receiving of instructions tomorrow. So those of you who arrived late and you could not get it clearly while you were busy here, please make sure that tomorrow you also join on time, so that as soon as you start, the first thing you are able to hear, and then so that you don't have a problem with it. Please, everybody, let's try to connect in time so that we can start and finish in time. If there is no question, and then you are released for the evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Janice, Nuka. Thank you, everybody. Ravita, thank you, Charlene. Thank you, Dennis.
Can I ask you something quickly?
Yes, I'm still here. You can ask.
So with the section 86, section 86.3,
Yes.
practically, how do they work? Because I can't imagine an instance where a client would say, or a client would be okay with the fact that their money will be invested, but they're not getting anything back in return.
Yeah, not necessarily that the client will agree for you to invest in terms of section 86.3. There could be many instances where, for instance, you have received a lot of money, payments here and there from unknown clients. The clients pays you, but the payments are not identified, and you cannot allocate those funds to anyone. Those are the type of funds that you will need to invest without the mandate from the legal from your clients. So those are the type of payments. So if it's a payment that belongs to your client, you'll obviously consult with your client and find out if you can invest on behalf of those specific client, and then you can invest on their behalf. So that you're correct. It wouldn't happen that quite often when you invest clients' money while the client is around. Unless if the client is not around, you are not able to get hold of the client to sign with the mandate, and in which case then you can take the same client's money and invest it in terms of your section 86.3. But it's very much unlikely that you will have much in as far as that investment is concerned, unless if you've got those very big firms that receive a lot of transactions into their trust account, and some of them they take longer to identify them, and then you will see those ones, then they will have a lot of investment in terms of section 86.3. But a normal, medium or small size law firm, I've seen that much type of investment coming much out of their practices.
Okay, no, thank you for that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then in terms of, well, on my side, practicing, the reason why I personally don't have any questions is because your explanations are so clear. Because I did practice this weekend, but I'm getting the material.
Okay, okay, no, thank you very much.
Okay,
I'm happy to hear that.
okay, sure.
All right. Okay, any question again? Thank you, Rahim. Thank you, Isra. Christian, thank you. Okay, if there's no question, I'm going to log off. Thank you, Talia. Thank you, James. Okay, those of you who still can hear me, I'm being requested that all of you sign out immediately because they want to see those who signed in and left. So if you can hear me, just sign out quickly. Otherwise, they are going to mark you as one of those that log in and leave their system on. Just sign out quickly. Just sign out quickly if you can hear me. Okay, Lucky, are you there? Lucky? Lucky, are you there? Jamili? Jamili, are you there? Kate? Kate, are you there? Rose? Kiara Beswi? Veronica? Jabulani? Jed? Mr. Ndlovu? Mr. Ndlovu?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.